Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 5 of Tamiya's Kawasaki Ninja ZX-12R. Scale is 1 to 12. And in this part I'm carrying directly on from where I left on part 4, so I'm working on the back wheel currently, and if I have time on this video I'll jump into the front wheel as well. So let's jump into this and see while I get on. So to carry on from part 4, got onto the back wheel and I'm just tidying up the wheel hub colour here. I'm going to pre-paint the suspension system and I'll quickly go through the colour. So it's ZX-16 flat aluminium for the main end part of the suspension. Then I'm going over to Tamiya's X18 semi-gloss black. The next colour for this is Tamiya's X31 titanium gold, and that's for the edge part, just where I'm doing a little bit of cleanup. Then I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 99 aluminium for the main support beam for the suspension system. So while everything's drying, I'm using Tamiya's X12 gold leaf, and this is for the valve on the wheel. I almost left this out by mistake, but I caught it in the end, thankfully. So it's onto the rear tyre, and I'll point out here the actual direction of the tread. If you look at the instructions, I'll show you what way the tread should be flowing for the wheel. It's quite easy to get this the wrong way around. So when you're doing it, have a look at it, see which way it goes, and that way when you put them on the bike it won't look like the wheel's going backwards. Now the tyre itself, it's just a normal rubber tyre. It just pushes on into the hub. They are a bit tight, so you may want to have a tyre wheel to just place it over the rim like you would do in real life. I used a paint stirrer for this. It goes without saying, don't use your knife, you'll end up cutting it, and just be gentle when you do it, and just push it in and pry over the lip. You may be able just to pop it in, but this one was just a little bit tight for it to do that. But I just persevere with it, and you really shouldn't have a problem. And once it's on, it sort of clicks in position, and you can tell that it's nice and secure around the rim. Then it's back to the suspension system, and for the coil, I'm painting that with Tamiya's X7 red. Now, of course, you can just leave it the metal colour if you wish, but the instructions do say paint it red, but you only get to see a glimpse of it, so if you're not comfortable doing that, it doesn't really matter. So it's time for assembly, and the first thing goes on is the braking mount. That goes onto the main frame. Now this is painted in the same colours that I listed before. I'm not going to go through them every single time, I'll get a bit tedious, but it's a variation of the same colour as before. Once that's on, the two halves of the main frame come together. Now only cement the bottom half of this together. It may need a little bit of time to dry because of the awkward shape. Then there's a little valve connector that goes onto the mount. This is to connect the brake lines to. And like the other ones, these are painted in Tamiya's X5 green. The camera doesn't really pick them up too well here. I would have to zoom right in and it would probably be too blurry. For the main suspension itself, first of all I put on the spring onto the piston bar. And now I hold down the spring, compress the spring, and at the tip of it there's a little cap that goes on at the end. And that was painted in Tamiya's X32 titanium silver, but any silver will do if you want to paint it. There is a little location point for this cap to go onto, but you are going to hold it until it dries, or put a pair of locking tweezers on like I have here, just so that spring doesn't come right up and knock the part off. Next is the air reserve canister thing, and that goes at the end. Now I painted that in Tamiya's X11 chrome silver. This part also has a decal on it right at the end. I put that on about 2 hours before placing this on, so it was nice and dry. So once everything was dry and stable, I was then able to move on to the other part of the assembly. So first of all is the main spring system. It's a little bit awkward to fit. It does fit in okay, but you may have to jiggle it around to place it in. As you can see there, I'm using my tweezers just to get everything into alignment. Also, this part has to move, so there's actually no cement on this part of the assembly. It's one of the reasons why the main frame has to be completely dry before you place this in, or it will split open. Next is the chain. That is easy enough. Now, you don't want any cement on this either if you want the wheels to move. It just sits in quite freely into the hub. You are going to have to sort of hold it before you put the wheel on, and the chain goes over the actual mount for the suspension system and the wheel. So you can see it there. I'm just pressing it in, and I'm just guiding it into its little location points. There is little pins for it to sit into. Now, this is all secured with screws, but the sub-assembly offset, this part has to be done without any cement. The holes do line up quite easily. It's not a major issue. It's one of the largest screws that you place in here. It should just press in before you need to screw it down. Don't worry so much about things moving out the way. That's only natural. Just keep it lined up as you're about to screw in, and then you should be okay. And it goes without saying, don't over tighten these. At the end, when you screw things, you generally do another extra quarter ton. Don't do that ton, because that way the wheel won't move, unless you want the wheel to be stationary, of course. Next is to put the wheel in position. The chain goes into the chain guard. That's the copper part on the opposite side before pushing in. Now, like the wheels, this is held on by a couple of screws. I had no problems lining these up. Dry fitting is obviously essential. The suspension spring part sits in a little bracket inside the frame. If you line that part up first, then gently push in the chain area, you'll find that everything lines up absolutely fine. And once I was happy with the position of it, it was just a simple case of placing in the screws. So pretty much like the wheel, you don't want to over tighten these as well, so no extra quarter ton twist when you tighten them up. Just put them finger tight, and that should be fine. And because you're using screws, if it looks like out of alignment, it's easy enough to correct it. But I'm fairly happy with the way it looks. You can see it's quite nicely lined up to the frame of the bike. So I'm going on to the front part of the bike now, and I'm starting to prep the handlebars of the bike. Now, I'm doing a bit of painting on the sprue as always, and it's just a variation of colours that I've mentioned before, so the blacks and the silvers. The one different black I'm using is XF1 flat black, and these are for the areas like the handlebar grips and throttle. There's most things painted for the handlebar assembly. I've just got to put on a little decal on the handlebar plate itself. There's just a couple of little decals. These are not the speed dials or anything like this. These are just the information decals. And while the decals are drying, I'm taking the opportunity to move on to the front wheel. So it's the same painting process and colours that I use for the rear wheel. So I'm just painting the hubcap or rims for this. And obviously the suspension system will be having identical colours as well. For the assembly, there's one or two little pieces to go on, but it's fairly straightforward. The first thing to place on is this little bracket. Now, this is one of the brackets that hold the brake lines. It's an awkward shape, to tell you the truth, but it does fit in quite easily. But just make sure you get the right angle with it. It should work within the flow of the brake lever itself. Next are two little caps that go onto the main frame. I'm not sure what these are for. They're painted in red. The red is the little tip part of this cap. All the rest is silver. Next is the handlebars. Now, there is a left and right obvious to these, but they can only really go in one way. If you do put them out on the wrong way, they won't push right down into the pin that holds them. So it's difficult to get this wrong, but it can can go wrong. So again, dry fit, but you shouldn't have any problems with it. Now I put a little bit of cement in there just to secure them, but I'm not sure that's entirely necessary. On the mainframe part of the bike, this is where the fuel tank is going to go. There's these two little parts are going here for. I'm not sure. It must be part of the mount for the fuel tank. I'm thinking. Then it's to the rear of the bike again, and I'm putting on the chain guard here. There's two little location points for it to sit in. You'll want to dry fit this to make sure it fits. The when you put it on, it doesn't actually necessarily look right until you dry fit it, and you see how it's meant to go. There's some tubing that is going to be attached to the front forks of the bike. I'm not sure how other people would approach this, but I recommend attaching these before you assemble. It just makes it easier for ease of access. And I'm using a little bit of super glue to attach these. They should just push onto the valve, but because they are hollow, but they won't stay there. There'll be a lot of stretching and bending required. So make sure they're well secured before you do that. Next to go on is the footrest. That is held together with screws. The dedicated location points should be easy enough to stand up with it. Just bear in mind there is other little things that will be getting attached along this frame, so make sure you do get them into the proper holes. Then it's the kickstand. Now again, this is secured with a screw, so it's movable. I suggest you have it loose so that you can move it. Now the kit does come with a static stand as well that sits directly below the engine. I haven't placed that on. I think the kickstand will be the easiest way to display the model. It should hold everything up. This part can be a little bit awkward to fit. It's just because of the size of the screw that's involved and the nature of the bracket that makes contact with the frame. It took me a good 5 minutes or so to do this. Actually, it took about 7 minutes. I only know that because I had left the camera recording, so I was able to see how long it took me to fit this bloody thing. So now it can fit the handlebars and the front suspension. First of all, the suspension forks go underneath. Now there's two little contact points to be cemented, and I'll be very careful on your cement placements because you don't want it to leak onto other parts and make everything solid. First of all, there's two little pins that just hold that together. Now you can't really wait until this dries, so you have to hold everything in place while you're assembling. It can be extremely awkward. Now once you've got them in place, there's a central screw that goes right down from the handlebars into the main column, and it connects it at the bottom of the housing. So you actually one single rod just connecting the whole lot. And this, as I said, it's really quite difficult to fit. Every time I was fitting it, things were just bending out of shape and coming undone. And the reason for that is you've got to be careful with your cement placement if you want everything free moving. So I think in hindsight what I should have done was put in the central column first with this screw, then put a tiny amount of cement on those two contact points before tightening everything up. Remember, I've never built one of these bikes before, so I don't know. I'm sort of learning as I go along. But looking back at it, I think that was probably the best way to go. But after a bit of perseverance, I got it done. Now all I'm left for this part of the video is to fit some hoses. These are the brake lines that I'm just about to fit. Now I'm just securing the anchor points with a little bit of super glue like I did last time, and I'm going to be leaving this overnight to dry anyway, so this is a good place to stop the video. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds. If you subscribe to the channel, please do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date not only with this video but all my other videos as well, of course. Hit the like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.